Hello dear student, welcome to EPG Pathsala. I am Dr. Ajit Jaswal, Department of Anthropology, Pondicherry University. Today we are going to discuss about a module titled Transition to Apes or Differences between Pongid and Hominid under paper Physical and Biological Anthropology. Student, in this module, we are trying to find out the answer of some of these important questions like who are Pongids, who are hominids, what are the major stages of Pongids and hominid transition, what are the approaches of studying the transition between Pongids and hominids. Let us try to discuss it in the introductory part of this information. The hominids include both the ape line and the line which is leading to the human being. The members of the former group are called the Pongid, and that which led to the human line is called as hominids. The family Pongids is represented by apes, gibbon, gorilla, chimpanzee or orangutan, whereas the family hominids, it includes the extinct form of Australopithecus, early Homo groups, that is Homo habilis, Homo erectus and Homo sapiens, and the only living member of the family is of Hominidae are the human being or humans. This systematic transition from monkey to apes and finally to human being took place in the old world. Till date, we do not find any of this transitional form from apes to modern human, and still number of interlinking phylogenetic species are still missing, or phylogenetic groups are still missing. The reconstruction of hominid evolutionary history is a scientific problem of exceptional difficulty. Direct observation is impossible because fossil and archaeological evidence are very limited or scarce. It is also a pivotal problem not only because of the scope of the issue, it addresses about modern human nature. But also because of the challenges it presents to evolutionary biologists. Humans are so singular a species with such specific geological unprecedented capacities that it is a major biological mystery. How evolutionary process could have produced us out of our present primate ancestors. Transition to apes. The figure reflected over here shows the transition from apes to hominid group. We can see the changes in the occipital region, changes in the sulcus regions, along with specific changes in the prognathism. This clearly shows the evolutionary line of hominid evolution, especially in the direction of formation of a developed human being. The hominid include both primitive characteristics as well as modern characteristics that we see in the middle skull, whereas the first skull is almost ape-like characteristics. When we start moving from first to third or first, second and third, we can clearly see the changes from ape-like man to a highly developed man. Highly circumstantial changes we can also observe on the occipital, frontal, sulcus regions of the skull, and also a drastic complete changes we can see in the gnathism part of the skull. Before discussing about human evolution and hominid divergence, it is important for us to once again revise the 7 epoch of the Cenozoic or our current era. The Cenozoic era is having a 7 epoch like Paleocene, Eocene, Oligocene, Miocene, Pliocene, Pleistocene and Holocene. The Pliocene and Miocene comes under the different feature which is reflect the clear cut structural changes in the direction of hominid line. As we have seen, the Paleocene start from 65 million years ago, that shows the primate-like mammals, and then Eocene that start from 55.8 million years ago. Here, the first true primates like prosimians were evolved. Even during Oligocene period, we have seen the evolution of catarrhines, which is a precursor to monkey and apes emerge at the time of about 33 million years ago. Whereas in the Miocene, monkey and apes has emerged. First human-like creature appeared during this Miocene period, that is around 23 million years ago. During Pliocene times, the early humans were diversified, and it lasts for about it start about 5.3 million years ago. Whereas in the case of Pleistocene, that is about 1.8 million years ago, early human developed, and it continues even till today. Even the Holocene period, which is about 0.01 million years ago, we have seen the present conditions. So, it is important for us to have some idea, generalized information about Cenozoic era and all the 7 epochs before discussing about the evolution of human being and also hominid divergence. Geologically, you need hominid divergence. It includes the following properties: the ability to attain fitness goal, the ability to communicate this model for the world throughout language, a vast expansion of cultural transmission and inter-individual involvement in the creation and maintenance of information, unprecedented development in the frequency and degree of reciprocity, and the variety of its manifestation, unparalleled degree of negotiation, inter-contingent behavior and social exchange, quantitatively and qualitatively divergent pattern of food manipulation, including collection and transport, extensive processing and preparation, storage and sharing, an increased division of labor between sexes, etc. The hominid divergence from the apes include the following feature, that is bipedality, as we have seen in the figure of Aegyptopithecus, situation appropriate, intensive male parental investment and an increase in female parental investment, an unparalleled degree of hunting and meat consumption, a change in life history correlates an extension of lifespan, an increase in the period of investment in offspring, a marked increase in the elasticity of human young, an expansion of ecozones occupied from tropical woodland and forest into savanna areas, but eventually including every other terrestrial ecozones, concealed ovulation coupled with continuous sexual receptivity. The emergence of anthropoids or the primitive anthropoid. It includes Parapithecus, Propleopithecus, Aegyptopithecus, Proconsul, and Siopithecus and Dryopithecus. We have already discussed about this primitive man in the earlier modules. They are more ape characteristics rather than homo characteristics or human-like characteristics. They are nearer to the greater apes than the humans. Evolutionary background. The emergence of Pongid traces way back to the Miocene, about 23 million years back, when we find first evidence of apes emerging and appearance of human-like form. It was for a long time believed that the divergence between human and ape took place around 14 million years ago or thereabout. and that a Miocene African ape called Proconsul, which was relatively unspecialized and had not developed the anatomical modification for swinging in trees known as brachiation, was the common ancestors of human and apes. More recent theories classify Proconsul as belonging to a most interesting and widely dispersed genus of tree apes known as Dryopithecus, which was the culmination of the Pongid line and which separated from the hominids about 20 million years before Proconsul. It is thought that Proconsul or a similar type may have given rise to the chimpanzee and gorilla, and another type of Dryopithecus may have been the ancestor of the orangutan. The other form of this genus all became extinct. The hominid line never modified in a brachiating direction and never developed the powerful canine teeth found in all pongids, including Proconsul. We know that at the same time as Proconsul, there existed at least two distinct hominids which are almost certainly either the immediate ancestor of Australopithecus. These hominids are known as Ramapithecus and Keniapithecus. The latter discovered from Africa and Europe. It has been suggested that there may be a connection between this hominid line and a very unspecialized little monkey-like type Propleopithecus, another type with well-marked canines, Aegyptopithecus, which may indicate the ancestral type of the Pongidae. Based on a reconstruction of pongids such as Pseudopithecus, it appears that they were all still quadrupedal around 9 million years ago. The hominids, those primates that walk on two legs, habitually appear in the fossil record around 4 million years ago. At present, anthropologists tend to believe that hominids diverged from a pongid ancestral form between 5 and 7 million years ago. Unfortunately, there are few fossils from this period that are known. Many paleoanthropologists believe that climate changes around 5 million years ago have dramatic effect on fossil ape population. The various approaches that explain the evolutionary background are: first, forager behavioral ecology; second, paleoanthropological approaches; third, the fossil perspective; fourth, the DNA perspective; fifth, the state of hominid scenario, that is, woman the gatherer. First, the forager behavioral ecology. Although the use of modern foraging people and as analogous for earlier form of human has come under much attack in recent years, the fact remains that tropical and subtropical people living off the land with traditional technologies provide the best available window onto the dietary behavior of early hominids in similar habitats. The study of hunter-gatherer by hawks can also inform us about meat-eating signatures in the archaeological record. Next, paleoanthropological approaches. The only direct evidence of the behavior of our Pleistocene ancestors is their fossilized remains. Paleoanthropological approaches to meat eating in human ancestors have historically involved the study of the bones of hominids, which tell us very little about carnivore, and the bone assemblage of associated, potentially prey species, which may tells us much. Archaeological approaches use stone tool evidence to build an empirically based picture of early hominid behavior ecology, which together with data on paleo environment can provide a perspective on the place of both living prey and scavenged carcasses in the early diet. Finally, the archaeological find indicate that meat and bone handling were major activities for hominid to develop the practice of stone tool manufacture, stone transport over larger distance from the source of raw materials, and localization of recurrent animal processing sites, and that evidence of these activities and the attendant heavy bone accumulation is rich enough to have survived across 2 million years indicate that these activities were neither marginal nor occasional. Next is the fossil perspective. There are no fossil remains of pongids or hominids between 15 to 16 million years ago. Paleontologists theorize that the hominid lineage evolved from the Pongid lineage about 15 to 17 million years ago. This would provide hominids enough time to evolve from the Pongids observed at 17 million years ago, like Ramapithecus, Sivapithecus, Gigantopithecus, Proconsul, and Dryopithecus. Next, DNA perspective. Nuclear and mitochondrial DNA evidence from modern humans and Pongid indicate that they are very similar genetically. Like in case of chimpanzees, chimps are 99% the same as human. Therefore, not much time is needed for the hominid to evolve from the Pongids. It is estimated is about 6 to 7 million years. The state of hominid scenario, women the gatherer. The advocacy of the women the gatherer, modeled by Tanner, Zillman, and others, has offered a healthy corrective on key issues in hominid evolution. The model proposes that the key element in the Pongid hominid split and the prime mover in the process of hominization was the gathering of plant food, with tools then as now predominantly a female activity. Fact and belief that have left weight to this hypothesis are: first point, the diet of our primate relatives consists very largely of foraged plant food. Second point, early quantitative report on tropical hunter-gatherer group indicate that most of the diet comes from gathered food plant. Third point, hominid bipedality significantly antecedent the first identifiable stone tool. Next point, in evolutionary term, all members of the population are important. and that in terms of their contributions or participation in the evolutionary process. Females are as important as males. And finally, the last one, the model is congruent with the social and the intellectual climate endangered by feminism, with its vigorous advocacy of the importance of women in all areas and its emphasis on the ubiquity of male bias and pretension. Major differences between hominids and pongids. There are mainly due to the differences in the stances and locomotion. That is, pongids are bracteator and knuckle walker with semi-erect stance, whereas hominids are bipedal stride with erect stance. And other major differences are as follows. First, let's discuss about the differences in skull. In case of pongid, the skulls are less rounded, smaller cranial capacity, foramen magnum at back of skull, sagittal crest in males, pronounced prognathism, and there is no chin. Whereas in the case of hominid, the skull is more rounded, larger cranial capacity, foramen magnum centrally at the base of the skull, there is no sagittal crest, there is reduction in prognathism, and development of chin took place. Let's try to find out the differences in jaws and teeth. The jaws and teeth of pongid is U-shaped jaw, prominent canines, large teeth, and presence of diastema. Whereas in the case of hominids, the jaw is V-shaped, canine is reduced and similar to incisor, the teeth are smaller in size, and diastema is altogether absent in hominids group. But whereas in the spine, if you see the differences in spine is C-shaped in the pongid and they have no extra lumbar curve. But in the case of hominid, it is S-shaped and have extra lumbar curve. If you see the differences in the pelvis region of pongids and hominid, the pelvis of pongids are long and narrow and have thin sacrum, whereas the pelvis of hominids are broad and wide sacrum, bowl-shaped, large ilia to support gluteal muscle. Let's try to see the differences in the case of legs and feet among pongids and hominids. The legs and feet of pongids are normally flexed, shorter leg, no carrying angle on femur, knee at right angle to femur, prehensile feet, first digit is opposable and one arch in feet. Whereas in the case of hominid, the leg and feet are legs normally extended, longer, carrying angle on femur, knee not at right angle, there is no prehensile feet, first digit is larger, there is non-opposable and fixed, two arches in feet, toes are parallel and fixed, and heel bones are larger. If you see the differences in the case of torso and arms, the pongid torso and arms, the torso is large to support heavy musculature of arms and arms longer and weight bearing, whereas in the case of hominid, the torso is smaller and arm muscle is reduced. The arms are shorter and non-weight bearing. So dear student, now let's try to conclude this module with some of the important points that we have learned or that we have discussed. The reconstruction of hominid evolutionary history is a scientific problem of exceptional difficulties. A direct observation is impossible because the fossil records are very limited. Even the fossil and archaeological evidence are very limited or scarce or not in a full-fledged proper form. It is also a pivotal problem not only because of the scope issues, because of another issues also. In addition, it addresses about modern human nature, but also because of the challenges it presents to evolutionary biologists. Humans are so singular a species, so dominant species with such geological unprecedented capacities that it is a major biological mystery. How evolutionary processes could have produced us out of our primate ancestry, that is a big question that need to be discussed in a proper fashion. Hominid behavioral evolution can only be reconstructed through the use of powerful analytical models from various approaches like fossil, but the fossil evidences are very limited in nature. Behavioral ecology, don't have a, we cannot say that don't have, we have very limited information from behavioral ecology. DNA analysis, DNA analysis itself is a, no doubt it will give a very beautiful picture, but the analysis from the DNA is so tedious, it's so minimal in nature, or it is very difficult to get the DNA material of this ancestral form, that it is really very difficult for us to give us a clear cut information about this. But whatever we have discovered, our scientists have discovered, we try to find out we try to get the clue from that. Okay, thank you.